Good morning, everyone. Alex went to find Abdul, but I don't think so. Okay, so yeah. Good morning, everyone. How are you all? I think I want a loud response if you are feeling really good. Yes? Ready for the session? Thank you. Yeah, so we had a very good morning today with the opening plenary, which was about the digital services, inclusive green finance. And so it's a perfect segue to this segment, which is going to be a more deep dive to what we discussed, what we heard this morning. And we have amazing people who would be sharing the amazing things that they have been doing across different parts of the world. Just wanted to check if everyone is in the room. The presenters are, so Arjun Dikshit is one of the presenters. Sarala Kesi, okay. Abdul Rasid Sahar. Abdul, are you around? Okay, so I think maybe Abdul is coming in. And we have discussants, Niti, Mary Alice, great, Lena, thank you, and our amazing session reporter, Okju, thank you. Okay, so we are almost everyone here, just Abdul will be, okay. So we'll be waiting for Abdul, but yes, so we'll first start with spotlights. So this session will have 3 sections. Spotlights, where there will be presentations by different amazing experts doing amazing work everywhere. And then there will be reflection from the discussants, and we will have some time at the end for your questions and responses from these presenters. So we will first begin with Arjun Dikshit, who is a senior manager climate change at Microsave. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I can start. Okay. Great. So as the presentation is being loaded up, my name is Arjun Dikshit. I work for a consulting company that's about 25 years old, headquartered in, that's not my presentation? There you go. Okay. Headquartered in India, but we have offices around the world, primarily looking at financial, economic, and social inclusion. I'll speak to you today a little bit about some of our work that looks at how people are using financial services in relation to the climate hazards that they're experiencing, primarily based on our work that has happened in Bangladesh and in India. Right, so just to start us off, I think I will try to make 3 points. It'll be a little bit quick, so just bear with me because I don't have a lot of time. So the first point that I'd like to make is that inclusive financial institutions could play a very important role in getting climate finance to the front lines, right, to people that need it. The second point I want to make is that though they could play an important role, there are lots of issues with existing provision of products and services and the use of those products and services across the board. And that the third point I want to emphasize is that solving this requires us to pay particular attention to how these financial institutions are able to meet the needs of poor and vulnerable communities. And they do require, so far it's been sort of commercial financing that's going on, but if we want them to start meeting the needs of climate adaptation, there may be a need for development actors to start looking at inclusive financial institutions one more time, seriously. Maybe on the first point on why financial institutions are important, we know that most microfinance institutions primarily serve women. For example, in India, 90% of the clients for microfinance institutions are women. They tend to have deep rural penetration in the markets that they're operating in. They work a lot with agricultural communities in particular. They have experience in delivering financial products to poor and vulnerable communities. And they also have the ability to integrate non-financial services along with the financial services that they provide. Right, so theoretically they could play a very important role in ensuring that climate finance is able to reach people that really need it. I think we all understand the role of savings and how critical they are. I wanted to speak to you a little bit about the use of credit and insurance in particular in this presentation. And of course, you know, when you're talking about credit, there are a variety of purposes that people could use credit. It could be for sort of changing agricultural practices, for inputs for agriculture, for buying sort of various kinds of machinery. When you're talking about credit, there are certain things that make credit useful, affordable, accessible, right? So they tend to be more successful when interest rates are low, that products are catered to the financial needs and cash flows of the customers who are taking that credit. And often, if it's bundled solutions, so if credit is bundled with insurance, for example, it tends to work a little bit better. But there are continued barriers to their adoption. So we're sort of seeing continued high rates of interest. Traditionally, microfinance institutions charge about 20 to 24% across the board as interest rates. Often, the ticket size, the amount of money that's available for credit is low, and they're not customized. They're sort of cookie-cutter products. They're not customized to the needs of adaptation. Similarly, for insurance, the situation there is maybe perhaps a little bit worse than it is for credit, right? It tends to be a push product. And they work best when premiums are subsidized. And perhaps they work best when the solutions are parametric solutions. There are some exemplary sort of products that we heard CGAP talk about this morning. So the work that BRAC is doing with its contingent line of credit as a top-up to existing sort of customers, that is sort of being profiled as a potentially innovative solution. And of course, in the insurance side of things, Sai this morning talked about the heat insurance that Sewa is working on. There's also this very large crop insurance program in India that's sort of driving a lot of insurance uptake. But this is important. This is some work that we did in Bangladesh. And of course, the credit in Bangladesh, the use of microfinance institutions, loans from microfinance institutions is sort of ubiquitous. But you look at where it's being used in the context of adaptation decision-making, and we see that most financial services, the dark blue, are being used for absorption of existing risk. So for smoothening, primarily for smoothening consumption. They're not being used for making any preparedness or anticipatory decision-making, nor are they sort of being currently used for longer-term adaptation planning and investment. And it's a similar sort of situation in Bihar as well, right? That loans are ubiquitous, but whether they're actually sort of making an impact on the adaptation decision-making of people is a little bit sort of difficult to say at the moment. What I want to just end with is that if we're talking about helping people respond to climate with financial solutions, the solutions that we have in place are currently not fit for purpose, and they really need additional work. And one element where that could sort of take place is using concessionary capital to help financial institutions, enable financial institutions to better serve the existing sort of adaptation needs. And we think that, structuring blended finance approaches where you're using a set of different financial instruments to either reduce the cost of capital for financial institutions, either allow for sort of greater financial leverage, or to reduce their risk, is quite important, and that this kind of an ecosystem approach is very important. Of course, understanding how people are using these financial services is critical, but then at the supply side, I think there do need to be systemic ecosystem level interventions in the form of catalytic concessional capital, but also additional support to financial institutions to meet their needs. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Arjun, for your wonderful presentation on how different actors are working on the demand and supply side. So definitely we need to work around more integrated ecosystem-based supply side while also trying to be responsive to the demand side. That is the need of the communities. So with that, we will head to the second presenter for today, Abdul Rashid Sahar, who is a social field mobilizer with Makaka Paleta. Yeah, so Abdul is here. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me today. Actually, I elected to present the Machaka Baleta Digital Cooperative Finance as a community-driven technology-enabled solutions. So before I continue my presentations, I'm going to acknowledge that currently I'm working for ADB's project in infrastructure improvement for shrimp aquaculture under Ministry of Fishery and Marine as a social facilitators. So as entry level for international careers path, I'm going to acknowledge that I love this forum. I love the way the arrangement of these events. No matter who you are, no matter your job level is, you have rights to speak. So that's why I'm here. That's why Mr. Alex continue my proposal solutions. So today I'm going to share how this model aligns with the CRPP, fostering by climate change and business adaptation practices in Indonesia. So, this model was developed in response to the challenges faced by at least 247 women entrepreneurs in Indonesia who struggle to access capital due to strict administrative requirements, complex business registration processes, and also limited financial literacy. So these barriers hinder their ability to expand businesses and improve livelihoods. However, in case the Machaka Baleta near from ADB's project in Pinrang region, they face an even greater challenge, climate change. The extreme weather events, declining fish stocks, and also disruption of supply chains pose a serious threat to women-led fisheries businesses. So I think without adaptation strategies, their economic stability remains fragile. So to address these challenges, we established the Machaka Baleta Digital Cooperative Finance that empowers women entrepreneurs in vulnerable community as a community-driven technology-enabled solutions by leveraging financial tools. So this initiative removes financial barriers, enhances financial literacy, and equips women with the knowledge needed to build a climate-resilient businesses. So the model operates through two core strategies. First, as you see above, which utilizes QRIS, a kind of fintech app in the nationwide of Indonesia, to mobilize capital, to expand market access, and provide business literacy training. This empowers women entrepreneurs to manage their finances efficiently and scale their business beyond local market. So the second strategy is a circular economy approach which emphasizes zero waste fish processing. I think this is not only minimizes waste, but also maximizes economic value. For example, where the part of the fish is utilized from fillet for consumption to bones for and trials for organic fertilizers. So, beyond this inclusion, financial inclusion, the climate resilience is a fundamental pillar of this model. So we are providing e-learning model that equip women with climate adaptive business strategies, including diversification, businesses, and also enhances financial literacy. So by providing this kind of financial flexibility, and also we introduce the INRATA features as a financial safety net for women entrepreneurs if their business are affected by flooding and harvest failure caused by pests and disease. By providing this kind of financial flexibility, we ensure that the women entrepreneurs can recover from economic disruption without falling into deeper financial distress. So to expand this impact, recently we are seeking for local government and local senators to regulate or to formulate the policy, especially for business insurance access scheme. So in conclusion, more than financial inclusion, I think the Machaka Baleta Digital Cooperative has empowered women entrepreneurs, especially in Penrang region, increasing their income by 40%. So that's all I think. I'm looking forward to your insight and discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdul. Yeah, that was indeed a very good example of how digital inclusion, women, and technology and sustainability, a very good blend of all that. So we will definitely hear more from Abdul and also from Arjun during the discussion round. So we have our next presenter. So the spotlight is on Sarala Casey, who is from Community Women Forum in Nepal, which is a member of Wairo Commission as well. Just a note that she will be she will be speaking in Nepali while her details will be coming in English on the slides, so everybody would have to keep their eyes active to see what she's sharing. So yes, so Sarala.
Namaskar. Okay. सर्वप्रथम सबैलाई आजको शुभ बिहानीमा तपाईहरुलाई धेरै धेरै न्यानो स्वागत गर्न चाहन्छु। धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद। यहाँसम्म आएर बोल्ने मौका दिनुभएकोमा एडिपी वाइरो कमिसन र आयोजक जति पनि संस्थाहरू हुनुहुन्छ उहाँहरूलाई धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु। मेरो नाम सरला केसी हो। म सामुदायिक महिला मञ्चको अध्यक्ष। सामुदायिक महिला मञ्च महिलाहरूले सञ्चालन गरेको न्यून आय भएका महिला दिदीबहिनीहरूले सञ्चालन गरेको महिला समूहको एउटा सहकारीहरूको एउटा छाता सङ्गठन हो। यो चाहिँ नि काठमाडौँ ताचालमा अवस्थित छ। सामुदायिक महिला मञ्चभित्र 29वटा महिला सहकारी, 2वटा प्रस्तावित सहकारी र 3वटा बचत समूहहरू छन्। जम्मा 34वटा सहकारीहरू छन्। यो 34वटा सहकारी महिलाहरूले सञ्चालन गरेको सहकारीहरू चाहिँ नि 5वटा प्रदेश, 22वटा जिल्ला, 9वटा जिल्ला र 22वटा नगरपालिकामा काम भइरहेको छ। हामीहरूले तपाईँहरूको सोचमा होला कसरी न्यून आय भएका महिलाहरू चाहिँ कसरी तपाईँहरूले सोच्नुहुन्छ भनेर देखिरहनु भएको होला। जो महिला दिदीबहिनीहरू दुई छाक खानलाई गाह्रो छ, जो घरमा कमाउने मान्छे थोरै छन्, जो अर्काको काम गरेर जीविकोपार्जन गरिरहेको छ, उहाँहरूलाई चाहिँ विपन्न, गरिब विपन्न समुदाय भनेर चाहिँ नि हामीले सम्बोधन गरेको, जसमा स्थानीय जुन त्यहाँका आदिवासीहरू, जात जातिहरू, नेवार, तामाङ, राजवंशी, त्यसपछि तपाईँको दलित, हरेक किसिमका जात जातिहरू चाहिँ पर्दछन्। हामीले त्यस्ता विपन्न समुदायहरूसँग करिब 15 वर्षदेखि हामी काम गर्दै आइरहेका छौँ। हामीले कार्यक्रम गर्दाखेरि जुन हामीले उहाँहरूको लागि भनेर यस्तो सहकारीको माध्यमबाट, बचत समूहको माध्यमबाट जहाँ जहाँ काम गरिरहेका छौँ उहाँहरूको जीवनस्तर उकास्नको लागि विभिन्न किसिमको बचतका प्रकारहरूदेखि लिएर उहाँहरूको सहयोगको लागि राहतदेखि लिएर उहाँहरूलाई अनुदानको कार्यक्रम ल्याउनको लागि चाहिँ हामीले काम गरिरहेका छौँ। जसमा हामीले उहाँहरूको बच्चाहरूको लागि शिक्षामा, स्वास्थ्यमा, जीविकोपार्जनमा र वैदेशिक रोजगारीमा जानको लागि र उहाँहरूको लागि भनेर हामीले सामुदायिक उत्थानशील कोष पनि सञ्चालनमा ल्याइरहेका छौँ। हामीले गरिँदै आइरहेका बिरामी हुँदैखेरि, सुत्केरी हुँदैखेरि जो गरिब समुदायहरू जो आफ्नो कमाइले उपचार गर्न सक्दैन, जो त्यस्ता समुदायहरूको लागि हामीहरूले स्वास्थ्यको लागि पहुँच राम्रो पुगोस् भनेर उहाँहरूलाई अनुदान पनि दिइरहेका छौँ। सुत्केरी हुँदा जो सुत्केरी महिलाको लागि स्वस्थ आहार खानको निम्ति पनि हामीले सहयोग पुर्याइरहेका छौँ र नवजात शिशुको लागि पनि न्यानो कपडा पनि प्रदान दिइरहेका छौँ। जसमा हामीले काम गर्दै आइरहेकोमा धेरै जस्तो महिला दिदीबहिनीहरूको लागि अहिले सहकारीको माध्यमबाट हामीहरूले धेरै ठाउँमा सहकारीहरूमा 5 जना, प्रति सहकारीमा 5 जना स्वास्थ्य उपसमितिको गठन गरेर उहाँहरूको लागि एउटा स्वास्थ्य स्वयंसेविका प्रदान गर्दै आइरहेका छौँ। त्यसमा पनि हामीले ती महिला दिदीबहिनीहरूलाई एउटा स्वास्थ्य स्वयंसेविका मार्फत, किनभने नेपालमा अहिले धेरै जस्तो के भइरहेको छ भने जो कमाइको लागि, रोजगारीको लागि अनि पढ्नको लागि भनेर सबै युवाहरू जति विदेश पलायन भइसके, त्यस्तो समुदायमा जुन घरमा भएका बुढापाका हरूको लागि वृद्ध सदस्यहरूको लागि हेर्नको लागि पनि भनेर उहाँहरूको स्वास्थ्यमा पहुँच पुगोस् भन्ने किसिमले पनि हामीहरूले स्वास्थ्य स्वयंसेविका चाहिँ नि तयार गर्दै आइरहेका छौँ र अर्कोतर्फ हेर्ने हो भने हामीले त्यस्ता सदस्यहरूको लागि हस्पिटलसँग पनि त्रिपक्षीय सम्झौता गरेर अगाडि बढिरहेका छौँ स्वास्थ्यमा पहुँच होस् भनेर। अहिले त झन् जलवायु परिवर्तनले गर्दा जुन अर्काको ज्यालादारी काम गरेर हिँडिरहेका सदस्यहरूको लागि जुन अर्काको खेतबारी लिजमा लिएर उहाँहरूले चाहिँ खेती गरिरहनु भएको त्यो चाहिँ नि धेरै जस्तो कहिले अति वर्षा कहिले थोरै वर्षा कहिले धेरै वर्षाले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि त्यस्ता कामहरू चाहिँ नि बिग्रिएर अहिले उहाँहरूको जीविकोपार्जनमा चाहिँ नि धेरै असर परिरहेको छ। अहिलेको जुन अस्ति पनि असोजमा गएको बाढीले गर्दा धेरै जस्तोको उहाँहरूले जुन कमाइरहेको अर्काको लिइरहेको चिजले चाहिँ नि तिर्न समयमा तिर्न त उसले त साहुहरूले त छोड्दैन। त्यस्तोको लागि पनि उहाँहरूले चाहिँ नि अनुदान थोरै मात्रामा अनुदान पनि हामीले दिइरहेका छौँ राहत कोषबाट र उहाँहरूको जीविकोपार्जनको लागि विभिन्न किसिमको सिपमूलक जसले आफूले जानेको छ त्यस्ता किसिमको सिपमूलक तालिम दिएर हामीले चाहिँ धेरै विभिन्न किसिमका जो आफूमा निपुण छ जुन समुदायको आवश्यकता छ त्यस्ताको लागि चाहिँ नि हामीहरूले विभिन्न किसिमको सिपमूलक तालिम दिएर उहाँहरूको जीविकोपार्जनमा चाहिँ नि अगाडि बढिरहेका छौँ। यति भन्दै म तपाईँहरूलाई धेरै किसिमका धेरै लामो अझ बढाउन चाहन्न। मेरो प्रेजेन्टेसनको लगभग यी फोटोमा पनि देखिरहेको छ। धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु। हस्त धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Sarala, for sharing about how bringing the realities of the ground, what different communities are facing in terms of the risk from the different disasters, the risk from the changing climate, and how the community-led initiative like Community Resilience Fund and loans are helping them to cope up and build the financial resilience, and how also different skill-building activities are helping them to generate alternative income sources. So that's a very, very short summary of what Sarala said. I'm sure I could not summarize as much as Sarala said, but there are her colleagues here as well, Sobina and Abdul from Lumanti, so they might also be able to add during the discussion session. And thanks to Pramila for navigating the slides in between. We will head to the hearing from the discussants, more of a reflection of what they heard from different spotlight presenters. So may I request all the spotlight presenters as well as the discussants to come forward. Just a quick recap of the speakers. So Arjun Dikshit, Senior Manager, Microsave. Abdul Rasid Sahar, Social Field Mobilizer from Machaka Baleta. Sarala KC, Community Women Forum Nepal. And discussants Niti Malhotra, Senior Program Officer from FCDO. Lina Marliani from Abdul Latif Jamil Poverty Action Lab. Mary Alice, Senior Social Development Specialist, Gender from Asian Development Bank, ADB. Yep, thank you all for coming forward. So we'll head to the second round of this session, and we'll be hearing reflections from Niti, Lina, and Mary Alice. So first, we will hear from Niti. So Niti, what's a reflection on different interesting initiatives that has been led by Arjun, Abdul, and Sarala across different communities?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. This was a very interesting mix of, experiences, case studies that we have had the, good fortune of listening to. So thank you so much, all the presenters and the speakers. I'd just like to start with the very inspiring model, Machaka Beleta model that Abdul Rashid Sahar shared with us. So really interesting to see a pretty good size, a group of women, nearly 250 women, how they struggle to access capital in the very strict kind of administrative regimen that they have to follow, the rules and regulations, and how this group sort of help them solve and access a digital operative model, use of QR code, the financial management, business literacy, also, skills building alongside, so modern marketing strategy for the women, expanding their market access, and therefore empowering the women. So, and I also find it very interesting that they took upon the circular economy approach, so a zero waste approach to fish processing, maximizing the economic value, ensuring that none of the of the fish produce is wasted. So it went beyond financial inclusion and is therefore, in my perspective, a very interesting and very complete, comprehensive approach to solving the problem of diversification of income, ensuring income security for the women. Some of the things that I would have liked to hear more about were about scalability, if that has been thought about already by this group and how they want to take it up. Anything on women leadership, if they have worked on capacity building, on, say, negotiating, influencing in spaces where digital financial knowledge may not be enough for women to be able to up their game and, advance themselves economically. And also about the INRATA feature that Abdul spoke about, and how does it work? Because becoming debt-free in 6 months is a very positive, feature. And how does it work really? It would be good to hear more about that. Moving on to Arjun Dikshit's presentation, a very good overview of how it's important to ensure that we are able to get money to the front lines, particularly in this very, very climate-stressed time that we lived in. He looked at the demand-side adoption, which has issues, he says, about existing demand and how well the services are aligned or responsive to those. And of course, underlined the fact that meeting the needs of poor and vulnerable communities is really important. Also highlighted the fact that helping people respond to the climate stresses with solutions. I mean, the solutions are really not fit to purpose. So he highlighted for us the importance of ensuring that that how financial services and products can actually respond to climate stresses, and the whole question of ensuring that adaptation becomes a part of that, responsiveness to climate, are integrated into the financial products and models that are developed is important. In terms of what I would have liked to hear more on, I felt that the focus on women and women's specific needs was a bit, sort of missing. He talked of really important stuff, headline stuff, but really exactly what is it that the women really require in a climate stressed. Their needs are specific, and I would have liked to hear more about the differentiated needs and how financial products are being or can be designed to meet the specific needs of women. Then finally on to Nepal, from Nepal, Sarla's presentation on her Cooperative Women's Forum. Really exciting to see the scale at which CWF is working. It's a network of 34 women-led cooperatives with an astounding membership of 35,000 plus, which is like really hugely impressive. And the kind of range of communities that covers, the range of financial products that are available, from loans to CRF for livelihoods, they also have an emergency fund, really accessing people who really do not even have access through microfinance institutions. grants to those who cannot possibly afford loans, funds for resilient building practices, so even protecting the environment and all, and also on infrastructure development. So it's a range, it's a astounding range, and they've been doing an immense job. So for me, the question very logically, very naturally is that if, considering the scale of achievement that they've achieved, what about replication in other parts of the country who are learning from the CWF, and are they giving more focus on climate resilience and adaptation related solutions as far as financial services are concerned? How are they approaching that? How are they assessing those needs? And what are they planning to do about those, looking into the future? Thank you.
Thank you, Niti. Just a sec. Can I request Pramila to come forward and help translate the question to Sarala? Thank you. Next up, Lena, who would be sharing her reflections.
Yes, thank you. So I think these all programs and innovative are very, very innovative. So thank you for sharing. For Arjan, for the, as you mentioned about like the insurance, like even though people would like to take the insurance, but then the take-up is so low, and then the government is, especially for the government to actually giving the assistance for the premium. It's also like proven like from our study in JPA, like using randomized control trial, that is actually like, even though like when you have a program, it is actually necessary like actually to do a pilot to see whether that the adaptation of the program, and then whether that there is a willingness to pay for the program to the access to credit. And then for Abdul Rashid, I think this like digital cooperative financial model is just like, this like is very like important, like training women to use the digital service to optimize the process of the loan disbursement and access to saving product more efficiently might enhance like the woman control over the financial assets. And then for the Sarala, I think like this is actually to utilize the access to emergency fund. Impact that you would like to do. And the other part is actually the cost effectiveness analysis. This is sounds like economics and things like that one. But then when you want to actually, because like the vehicle to adaptation usually like through the government channel, and then usually like government would like to see what is the value of the money, whether that the intervention is actually more expensive rather than the impact that they will get. And then you also would like to actually identify the scale up vehicle, because then scale up can occur like in multiple pathways, and working together to pilot the solution together, not only like with your own organization, but we also like with the government, could be like one pathway to do like the scale up. The last thing that I would like to say is actually, please document your best practice and then sharing, and identify that the other scale up pathway. Because helping by documenting the technical aspect of your program into the accessible product can serve a guidance to the other organization and government with the higher capacity to test and implement the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena. Alice, may I request for your remarks?
Thank you. I'm not going to go through each of the presentations anymore because Niti and Lina has adequately, provided all the comments that I'm supposed to give as well. We share the same views. Perhaps at this point, I just would like to affirm that my insight is that at this point, Machaka, Baleta, as well as the Women's Cooperative in Nepal are actually responses, innovative responses. I believe they are innovative responses to the grave lack of access to finance. So people on the ground have to be innovative. Otherwise, there's nothing they can wait. They cannot wait for government or for other people or other sectors to provide the much needed access. So this is something that I have huge respect for because this is the real community-based responses to the lack of finance. I'd like also to bring up the issue of access to finance. One of the barriers to the access of finance in a project that I worked on in Tajikistan is because one of the requirements for finance access is usually formal groups. I think this was mentioned earlier. Formal groups are the ones who have access or who can access. So in a project that I worked in Tajikistan, we were focusing on seasonal agricultural workers, and we would like to provide, of course, not just the finance, mainly capital for agricultural inputs as well as training, and then link them to markets and all that. One of the things that was a huge obstacle for our moving forward was because we are working with seasonal agricultural workers who are actually very informal. So our initial step was asking them, is it possible to formalize the group? And the Ministry of Agriculture was actually also exploring this possibility. But in our work on the ground, we found out that these women agricultural workers do not want to be formalized because one of the obstacles to formalization is that they will be required to pay taxes. They will be required to pay, all these fees, and it's not something that they can sustain. So that's one of the main obstacles. There are also existing government mechanisms to address this lack of to provide, for example, equipment, agricultural equipment, to provide this seed capital for agriculture. But at the same time, again, they're looking for formal groups to transfer this. So anyway, at the end of the day, our solution there was, to engage a third party, an NGO who will facilitate all this, who will accept the equipment, facilities, and then provide the training and that. So I think that's one of the major issues. Second issue is I think they also mentioned is the fact that, we need to have an enabling environment, an enabling policy environment so that women's informal groups can access finance as well as other tangible capital, maybe in the form of, I think Arjan also mentioned something about a blended financial instruments, probably if that is something that we can look into, as well as in Tajikistan, what they were asking for was tax reliefs. So, and then third, another issue that we saw was targeting people, because sometimes it's difficult to find the real beneficiaries. Sometimes because of the political setup at the local level, it's difficult for us to really reach the targeted beneficiaries. So thank you.
Thank you, Niti, Lina, and Alice for the wonderful reflections, very much reflecting on what the problem is and what the solution could be. So we have 15 minutes left for the session. So I'm thinking if we could also get the questions from the floor and everybody, our speakers, the spotlight presenters would be responding to the questions from our reflectors as well as from our participants in the room. So I'll open the floor for questions from the room. Yep, I see a hand.
Thank you. I think I can say good afternoon now. My name is from Laos. I'm from Asian Development Bank and based in Laos as Senior Social Development Officer. So I would like to learn from the Achan district as you presented in India. 90% of clients are women. When you are working with the women, as working with the financial services, what is challenges and how you come up with those challenges? Because in Laos, we are also working with the financial services for the rural women. So I would like to learn from you. Could you share with us? Thank you.
Should we take some questions?
Okay. So we will go to the spotlight presenters to respond to the questions now and then again come back to the floor. Thank you.
My turn. Thank you for that question. I think maybe our other two colleagues could also speak to that question of challenges. Maybe I'll take your question and the point that our FCDO colleague was raising about sort of the differential need of women and whether financial services are able to address those needs. I think at least the microfinance sort of sector has been focused on providing financial services to women in general, right? So you look at MFIs, they primarily sort of target women. And of course, we know that the differential need of women because of lack of access over assets, over sort of norms, the whole sort of issues related to lack of gender equity exist. But when you look at the products that are delivered, through microfinance in particular, we, at least in the work that we were doing, we don't see a lot of innovation, right? So there is sort of term loans that are being provided, and they tend to be sort of weekly repayments or monthly repayments of about, maybe about $100 max. So the nature of the products that are being sold is quite sort of fixed, and there we haven't really seen a whole lot of innovation in terms of product design that meet the specific needs of vulnerable women when it comes to sort of dealing with climate risk. That's sort of been our sort of experience, that we don't really see that level of innovation happening within the industry so much. And I don't know if other colleagues here have seen that, and would love to hear if they've seen any kind of innovation. And I think our colleagues here could also speak a little bit about how they're meeting differential needs of women and some of the challenges that they face.
Thank you. I think in the context of the Masyarakat Baleta, it's hard to build this financial inclusion without we build a trust between women each other. So actually, I have the same ethnics with these women entrepreneurs. So that's why my value. So that's why my virtue. They give my values, so they will implement what I have to advise to them. So that's all I think. Trust you have to build a trust to enter in women groups, especially in grassroots of rural areas. Thank you.
Just the summarization. CWF has the provision for disaster risk fund and emergency relief fund, and it's very easy for the women to get access to it because the community, it evaluates the type of emergency, and then there is a work policy, so it's very easy for the women to get access to the fund in case there is any kind of emergency, whether it's related to disaster or some social risks.
Thank you. So yeah, questions? Or Sobina, you want to add?
And Sobina ji has been working very closely with Sarla ji, so she knows more about it. Can she?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just, thank you, Pramila ji. I just want to add the addition to what Niti had just shared about. It's about the scaling up. So it's already in its scale, we would say, because, replicable. And what we are saying is that the CWF, they are, creating a more innovative model in the local level than the other microfinance institution. Because you might have heard about and aware about the cooperatives of Nepal right now, how it is, how the, the issues are ongoing. But the women-led cooperatives that they are affiliated with, it's constant and it's very, they are very recognized by the different other, the stakeholders, including the government, that they are doing their great job. Introducing so many products that she mentioned about. One is, of course, the loan and the grant and the emergency fund. So they are more focusing on the, the communities and families who are agriculture based. So whenever there is a crisis, there's a flooding, drought, so the agriculture affected by them, and they are the one through their emergency fund and community resilience fund to, to provide to recover the, whatever they have lost. So this kind of innovation is there. And the one addition is that because of all this innovation, replication in different parts of the Nepal, they are well recognized by government, and they have also government provided, I think, 10 millions of money to the women groups to do the agriculture production and the, the, what do you call that, raising the, these buffaloes. And also, and she maybe in her slide, she also mentioned about the urban gardening, where this was initially started in Kathmandu, but there are other parts of Kathmandu who, where the temperature is very high. So it was replicated in other parts of the country also through the women groups. So there are so those other, the innovation that we can share about. And also in her slide, you might have seen the skill training that they have provided to produce the leaf plate, which in a way to support the environment, because the forest waste, they are turning forest waste into the income of the women groups. So this was quite popular now. You have seen in the photographs also. So this is very popular in Nepal that we use these leaf plates for the different the different occasions. And also they are supporting an environment that is degradable. It's not the plastic, not the paper, but it's the leaf. So this is how that the things are ongoing. And also they are also through these funds that available, or the funding service available in their cooperative, they are also exploring different adaptive practices in the different geographical area of Nepal. So there are lots to share. So maybe we don't have much time. If you have want to get more information on that, maybe we are available to give that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sobina.
I am Rajeshwari Gorana from Mahila Housing Trust. We had offered parametric insurance for heat in Baroda's in Ahmedabad, Vadodara, and Surat for 26,000 people. Let me tell you my experience. One is I think women are still not at a point with trying to identify climate risks. It's a huge problem. Climate is not on the top of the mind. They're unable to see how it affects their incomes and also erodes, increases their expenses. So it's a double whammy for them. Your incomes are cut down, but your expenses are also increasing. And the other thing is insurance is a new product. I mean, insurance in general is very hard to understand because you always think it, I think the poor, or most of us, think, when we put money, we want something back. And that's the reason why endowment funds are so popular. So how do you do, how do you reach women to understand risks and say what are the risk transfer or risk absorbing solutions? That is one. And the second thing is, we use the words affordability, accessibility, and adequacy very easily, but the poor are not just one block. They're just not something that you can bracket them. There's so many, and what needs to be done. So this alludes to, Arjun, your point, which you said that, we need innovative products, and cookie cutter approach doesn't work here. So where is that motivation in people who can invest and say that, we have a dozen models, now come and pick up, So this is to all of you, whether are we able to understand what is risk, climate risk and then what are the financial solutions that are available. Anyone who takes the question, of course, it is directly to you.
Yeah, but before you respond, Arjun, may I, if there is any other questions from the room?
Yeah, Yakwe from the Marshall Islands. Yeah, my question is, how do we motivate women leadership in all the three presentations? Thank you.
More questions? Okay. Yeah.
I don't need a mic. So my question would be to everybody, not just the spotlight presenters, but to everybody in the room. We've heard a lot about you need an enabling regulatory environment, and a lot of the time the regulation is not fit for purpose to get finance to women who need it. What do regulators need to do differently to understand what is the need on the ground? Because the regulators are frequently quite removed from work on the ground. So what do we need to do differently so that when the regulators are formulating their regulation, they really understand what women need to be able to thrive and survive? So what do we need to change? And that's happened to everybody. So if anybody wants to come talk to me at that lunch as well, I'd be all ears.
Thanks.
I think...
Any more questions? Sorry. Okay, so maybe we can head to Arjun and others for the responses.
Maybe I'll start with Helen's question about what regulators can do. I think it's very market specific, for example. And I think the response will probably need to be very market specific. We were doing some work with microfinance institutions in India, trying to look at how they can really enable greater access for climate resilient agriculture practices, right? And the regulatory environment that they're operating in was very challenging, and they're not able to sort of increase the ticket size that they're able to offer. The regulatory pressures that's put on them means that they're not able to start this line of business in the way that they want. So I do think that response for what regulators can do needs to be very specific to the nature of regulation that each market sort of faces. And I think, yeah, that's my first response. I think on your second response, I'd love to hear a little bit about your heat insurance product, and if you have anything on that, that'd be lovely. I think heat in particular is very difficult to talk about, right? And I'm sure you've faced this, that it's not perceived as a real risk. So when you're talking about selling insurance for heat, then it becomes really, really difficult. But I think this point about how you get people to better understand risk is very important. And I'd like to I think, communities to better understand risk is, of course, the kind of work that MHTs does is very important. But at the same time, I think financial institutions and their staff also need to better understand climate risk, right? And we're in a position now where financial institutions, the staff that are sort of interested and sort of dispersing various products don't have the skill set and capacity to be able to better understand how climate risk is impacting their customer base. So I think the financial, sort of the climate capacity building needs to be, of course, with vulnerable communities, but it also needs to be with other sort of system level actors like financial institutions that are meant to serve some of their needs.
Okay, I will answer for how to make a woman motivate. For me, once more in the Machaka Baleta cooperative finance, because they are the different ethnics in Pinrang region, so I try to enter to their community by ethnic value. So I try to make them comfortable. So what my insights arrives in their perspective. So that's why I think a very important approach to make women motivate. I think that's all.
From Saralaji, since it is Community Women's Forum, all the leaders in the forum are women, and it has not been easy because initially the women in from the community, they are very hesitant. They cannot talk in front of people. They do not come out of house easily. So because of the constant trainings, skill enhancement trainings, now the women are able to speak their minds. And then not only that, they are able to identify the problems of the community. They are trained to do so. And after that, they are also, the forum also sees if the family is supportive or not. So if the family is not supportive of the women working outside, then the forum, they take a further step to bring the family on board also. And it is not an easy and short time process. It takes time. And then after that, the women, they have been very outgoing, outspeaking, and they have reached the level of they have been elected to the local government and provincial government cabinets also. So in this way, the women from CWF are very much empowered. And compared to the other kind of organizations, what they are doing for the women empowerment, the women are financially empowered. They now are seeking their political rights. They are able to do so. So the result is a few of them are already in local government and provincial government.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing those inspiring outcomes. So may I request our discussants as well to have a very, very final quick reflection from the discussions from the floor as well as from the presentations. 1 minute pitch,
yes,
thank you.
I just want to add like what regulatory can do. This one is, we all here is because like when women face financial difficulties, they go to the informal access. So one thing that I'm thinking is like what we are also like doing in JPAL is like we try to actually innovate about like access to formal credit. This is like how actually women can access to formal credit. One of thing is actually the credit scoring. So whether there is an innovation to do this, like how to actually formulate this different alternative credit scoring to remove the collateral. And then so this is like one thing that I just like also like want to put out in the audience is like testing out this credit scoring. So the I think the World Bank in Ethiopia, they're using the psychometric credit scoring. So this is also like one idea that they are thinking. But I think like we need to have like some innovation about like this credit scoring because it's like too formal and then women cannot actually access this formal credit. Thank you.
As far as the work of ADB is concerned in terms of on financial inclusion, especially for women, one of the things we're engaging in is a lot of policy dialogues with respective governments. One of the things we are pushing for is that we bring them, or at least we bring the issues from a gender lens to finance institutions, for example. We conduct capacity building as well as advocacy for opening up the very tight financial institutions to address the specific needs of women who do not have the capital to their name, who do not have properties to their name. So we are working with these financial institutions to look into other possible ways to address this lack of capital, or the lack of financing to reach the really vulnerable poor. Maybe I'll just stop there. Thank you.
I'm so sorry, I missed one line from Sarlaji. I would like to add this. One more thing which she said is now they are leaders in, like all the cooperatives are being led by the women right now, isn't it? But the second generation leaders are also ready now. So once these women step down, then there are other women ready already to take their place as a leader. So that is also one more thing which has been going on within this CWF. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm really some key highlights for what has stood out for me is that women are really not in a position to at the moment really understand climate risks that much. So I think understanding of risk. So in terms of capacity building, that needs to be sort of built-in differential needs of women, and then women are not really a singular block. We really need to understand that they come from are under various sort of backgrounds, various ethnicities, various kind of capacities, and perhaps even disabilities. So there's a range that we need to look at. And also climate capacity building, especially in terms of inclusive finance, that kind of capacity building I think needs to go across all stakeholders, not just women or vulnerable groups. But I think that is a kind of understanding that we need sort of more focus on and more depth in. Perhaps at the moment we are only scratching the surface. So those are the 2-3 things that really stood out for me in all the presentations and the excellent discussion that has followed. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for wonderful questions and thoughts coming from the floor, and wonderful presentations by the spotlight presenters, and very good reflection from our discussants. I'll just provide a very, very quick summary. I know I'll not be doing justice to what our wonderful spotlight presenters have done, but just a quick summary before we head out for lunch. So we learned about a lot of promising, innovative financial instruments and how that can be made inclusive using different approaches like digital technologies, and how that can be made accessible and affordable as well, and how it needs to be more community driven. And we also talked about how different regulatory frameworks and different policy needs to have enabling environments. So it's more of how different demand and supply work together to create a good and integrated ecosystem to get the money where it matters and to whom it matters. So I guess that was a very, very quick summary of what we discussed. And we do have a food for thought before we go for lunch. It's a question by Helen from AFI, so if anybody wants to talk to her during the lunch and share your thoughts about what needs to be done differently by different regulators to be truly reflective to the needs of the community. And our presenters and discussants will also be around, so you can, of course, have an informal chat with them during the lunch or during breaks to learn more about their promising and very inspiring actions. So that's it for this session. Thank you for tuning in, being here and listening. And Yeah, I'm signing off, your host for today. Thank you. So it's lunch now. Which room? And thank you, Timmy and Alex, for behind-the-scenes support. Very helpful. Thank you so much.